Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're into coins, history, or just love learning about the little pieces of our past, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into a very special coin, the USA 1-cent coin from 1976. So, grab your magnifying glass and get ready, because we're about to take a deep dive into its history, value, and significance. Let's get started. First things first, let's take a close look at this iconic coin from 1976. This year is a significant one for American history. It marks the 200th anniversary of the United States of America, the bicentennial. And that's where this coin comes in. But what makes the 1976 1-cent coin different from others? To understand the importance of the 1976 1-cent coin, we have to step back in time a bit. The U.S. Mint released special bicentennial coins to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. But the 1-cent coin from this year wasn't exactly a part of the bicentennial coin series. On the front of the 1976 1-cent coin, we have the famous image of President Abraham Lincoln. This design, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has graced the penny since 1909, making it one of the longest-running designs in American coinage. But, unlike the bicentennial quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins, the penny wasn't given a new design for the year. Here's where it gets interesting. Even though the penny didn't change its design for the bicentennial, 1976 is still a unique year for the U.S. Mint. The 1976 1-cent coin, like all regular issue pennies from this era, is made of copper, and it features the classic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what about its value? Is it worth more than just 1 cent today? So, how much is the 1976 1-cent coin worth today in circulation? Well, generally speaking, this coin's value isn't much higher than face value if it's in common, circulated condition. You'll typically find these pennies trading for around 1 cent to a few cents. But, as with any coin, the condition really matters. Let's break it down. If you happen to have a well-circulated 1976 penny, like this one, worn down with plenty of scratches and discoloration, its value is likely close to face value, which is 1 cent. But if you find one in near mint or mint condition, you might be able to get a little more for it. Maybe 2 to 3 cents, or even slightly higher. Now, if you come across a 1976 penny that's been graded highly by a professional grading service, say, one in perfect uncirculated condition, then you're talking about a bit more money. A coin like this could be worth anywhere from 10 to 20 cents, or more, depending on the market and collector demand. But these are rare and usually require proper storage and care to maintain that pristine look. Over time, the value of these coins has remained fairly stable. While the 1976 1-cent coin isn't typically seen as a high-value collectible, there's always the possibility of a spike in interest, especially when we look at the coins in terms of their historical significance during the bicentennial celebrations. Speaking of historical significance, it's important to remember that the 1976 1-cent coin is still a part of the larger bicentennial legacy. It was produced during a time when the United States was celebrating its 200th birthday, a major milestone. That alone gives the coin some extra value for those who are passionate about American history. So, while you won't find this coin for a fortune, it's still a great piece of American history to add to your collection. And, if you're looking for something more valuable, keep an eye out for rare errors or coins that didn't circulate as much. There are always those hidden gems. Before we wrap up, let me give you a quick tip. If you're serious about collecting, make sure to keep an eye on the condition of your coins. Storing them in a cool, dry place in protective holders will help maintain their value. And, who knows? You might just find a rare one that's worth a lot more than you expect. 1960. Whether you're a collector, an investor, or just a coin enthusiast, this video is going to shed some light on this fascinating piece of American numismatic history. So, if you have a 1960 penny lying around, you might want to stick around to see if it's worth more than just 1 cent. Let's get into it. First, let's take a look at the history behind this coin. The 1961 cent coin is part of the Lincoln Cent series, which has been in circulation since 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by the renowned sculptor Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln Cent is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The 1960 penny continued to feature the classic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, along with the Liberty inscription and the year of mintage. On the reverse, you'll find the familiar wheat ears, symbolizing the nation's agricultural heritage. This design would stay in place until 1959, after which the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. in 1960, the U.S. Mint produced the Lincoln Cent in 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The total number of pennies minted in that year was around 1.1 billion, with most of them being struck at the Philadelphia Mint. However, there's an interesting variation that collectors look for: the small date and large date varieties. Why does this matter? Well, the 1960 small date penny has a more compact 0 in the year 1960, while the large date version has a wider 0. This slight difference can make a big impact on a penny's value, especially for those who are looking for specific varieties for their collections. Now, let's talk about the circulated value of the 1961 cent coin. If you happen to have a penny from 1960 that's seen better days and has been passed through several hands over the decades, don't expect to retire on it just yet. A typical circulated 1960 penny is worth, well, about 1 cent. The value doesn't increase much because of the large number of coins minted that year. However, the coin can still hold sentimental value, especially if it's a family heirloom or if you're looking to build out a full set of Lincoln cents. But here's where it gets interesting. Uncirculated 1960 pennies can fetch much higher values. If you have a 1960 penny in mint condition, free from scratches, discoloration, and damage, it could be worth significantly more than just 1 cent. Some uncirculated 1960 pennies are worth anywhere between 10 to 50 cents, depending on their condition. And if you have a small date variety in uncirculated condition, you're looking at a potential value range of around $10 to $15. The rarer the coin, the higher the value, and condition plays a massive role here. Let's talk about the rare and valuable varieties of the 1960 penny. As mentioned earlier, the small date variety is highly sought after by collectors. The small date pennies were produced in lesser numbers than the large date ones, making them a bit more valuable, especially when found in excellent or uncirculated condition. Additionally, if you happen to have a 1960 penny that was minted in San Francisco, the S-Mint mark, there's a chance it could hold a higher value, especially if it's an uncirculated or well-preserved coin. So, how do you identify a valuable 1960 penny? Well, there are a few things you can look for. First, always check the condition of the coin. If the coin is shiny, with sharp details and no signs of wear, it's likely in uncirculated condition and could be worth more. Next, inspect the date. Look for the small date and large date varieties, as these are the key to a coin's value. A well-preserved small date 1960 penny can be a hidden gem in your collection. If you think you've got a valuable 1960 penny, you might be wondering how to sell it. There are plenty of ways to go about it. Online auction sites like eBay and specialized coin-selling platforms like Heritage Auctions and CoinWorld can help you find buyers willing to pay a premium for rare or uncirculated 1960 pennies. Just make sure to get your coin properly evaluated before listing it. So, whether you're a casual collector or a serious numismatist, the 1961 cent coin is a fascinating piece of American history. While most circulated examples won't make you a fortune, if you've got a small date or an uncirculated gem, you could be holding on to something much more valuable than you think. The Lincoln Cent was first introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This coin replaced the Indian head cent, and it was designed by Victor David Brenner, a famous sculptor. The obverse of the coin features a portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse originally showed 2 wheat ears, symbolizing America's agricultural roots. This design was maintained until 1959, after which it was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, which is still in use today. The 1960 penny was a standard issue coin that continued the Lincoln Cent design with the famous wheat ears on the reverse. It was notable for being part of the ongoing effort to maintain a standard, uniform currency for the U.S. population. However, during 1960, a few key events impacted the penny's design and circulation. In 1960, there was a significant amount of confusion and experimentation at the U.S. Mint regarding the way the year was stamped on the coin. This led to the creation of 2 different types of the 1960 penny, the large date and the small date varieties. The large date pennies have a more prominent 0 in the year 1960, while the small date pennies feature a more compact, tighter 0. The 2 varieties arose due to a change in the process used to create the master dies for the coin. Wheat reverse design ***. The 1960 penny continued to feature the wheat ears on the reverse side. This would remain the case until 1959, when the reverse design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial, marking a major shift in the design of the penny. The 1960 penny was one of the last pennies to feature the wheat ears reverse. The U.S. Mint decided to change the reverse design in 1959 to the Lincoln Memorial to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. However, for the 1960 coins, the wheat reverse remained in use for this final year before the transition to the memorial design. Additionally, 1960 marked the end of the wheat reverse design after just a brief period of it in production. While the change in reverse was notable, the 1960 pennies remained largely unchanged in terms of composition and size compared to previous years. By the time the 1960 pennies were in circulation, the U.S. Mint had already produced billions of pennies since the coin's inception in 1909. With over 1.1 billion pennies minted that year across all the U.S. Mint locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the 1960 penny wasn't considered rare in its time. However, certain varieties, such as the small date version and S-Mint coins, minted in San Francisco, have become valuable for collectors. Especially when they are in uncirculated or mint condition, the 1960 Lincoln cent is an important coin in the history of U.S. currency, marking the final year of the wheat ear reverse design and the transition toward the Lincoln Memorial reverse. Over the years, this coin has become a. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel Yamara for more awesome coin content, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare 1960 penny. I'd love to hear about your discoveries.